Imagine standing on an island so crowded you could stretch your arms and touch your neighbor's wall. Now imagine that island is smaller than a football field, with 2 police stations from different countries, both claiming it as their own. That place exists. It's real, and it's called Magingo Island. Tucked into the eastern waters of Lake Victoria, Magingo defies logic. Just 2,000 square meters, yet home to over 500 people. Tin rooftops overlap like a chaotic jigsaw puzzle. Alleyways are barely wide enough for one person to pass, and despite its tiny size, this island is a hotspot of international tension between Kenya and Uganda. But why does everyone want this cramped, uncomfortable rock? It all comes down to a single fish, the Nile perch. This predatory fish fuels the entire local economy, attracting fishermen by the hundreds. They built shacks, set up shops, and turned the island into a non-stop hub of trade and survival. There's no sewage system, no running water, and barely any electricity, just generators humming night and day. Even stranger, both Kenya and Uganda have their own police forces stationed here. It's a diplomatic standoff on a rock the size of a city block, and with no clear ownership, any environmental regulation is nearly impossible. Overfishing and pollution are turning this lake into a ticking time bomb. What most people don't realize is that this place isn't a rare exception. It's just one of many islands around the world that break all the rules of geography, nature, and even logic. 600 kilometers off the Australian coast, a stone dagger pierces the sky. Rising 1,141 feet from the ocean, Ball's Pyramid is the tallest sea stack in the world. It's sharp, unforgiving, completely uninhabited, and for decades scientists believed it was lifeless too, until 2001. That's when a group of researchers discovered something shocking: a small colony of giant stick insects, nearly 6 inches long, pitch black, and thought to be extinct for over 70 years. Locals call them tree lobsters. These creatures had survived in complete isolation, huddled inside a lone bush clinging to a rock face 300 feet above sea level. No one knows how they got there. No one expected them to still exist, and yet they were alive. Today the island is tightly protected. It's part of a marine park, and only a handful of researchers are ever allowed to land. For scientists, it's a gold mine, a natural lab for studying evolution, extinction, and survival under extreme conditions. The surprising truth is, this isn't just a story about one bug or one rock. It's about resilience and what nature is capable of when left to its own rules. Every year, on a tiny island 870 miles off the coast of Australia, the streets turn red. Not with blood, but with crabs. Tens of millions of bright red crustaceans pour out of the forests of Christmas Island and march to the sea. Their goal: to breed, guided by lunar phases and triggered by the first rains of the season. This synchronized migration transforms the island into a living river of legs and claws. Roads are shut down, special crab bridges are deployed, local life grinds to a halt, all to let nature do its work. Each female lays up to 100,000 eggs into the ocean. A few weeks later, tiny juvenile crabs emerge from the sea and begin the long crawl inland, restarting the cycle. But there's a threat. An invasive species known as the yellow crazy ant has decimated crab populations in some areas. These ants spray acid and form aggressive colonies, killing thousands of crabs each year. Conservationists are fighting back, using bait traps and ecosystem restoration. But the battle is ongoing. Still, this migration remains one of the most spectacular biological events on Earth. It's not just a survival mechanism, it's a symbol of nature and humanity learning to coexist. Deep in the wetlands of Argentina, satellite images revealed something strange: a near-perfect circle of land floating in a circular lagoon and rotating. Yes, rotating. The island, nicknamed El Ojo, the Eye, has been shifting its position for at least 2 decades. It spins slowly but continuously on its own axis. It's not a hoax or digital glitch. It's real, and no one knows exactly why. Some scientists believe it's caused by an underground current creating differential erosion. Others say it's like a natural version of those ice disks that spin in freezing rivers. But there's no ice here, no winter, just swamp, sediment, and mystery. What makes El Ojo so captivating isn't just its movement, it's the sheer impossibility of it. In a world where we've mapped almost everything, this island seems to defy explanation. And it's not the only place that does. Off the coast of Japan, There are islands where cats don't just live, they dominate. On places like Aoshima and Tashirojima, felines outnumber humans 6-1. These islands aren't tourist traps or novelty zoos. They're functioning communities shaped by whiskers and paws. The story starts back in the mid-1900s, when fishing villages brought in cats to control mice that were damaging boats and chewing through silk fishing nets. With no predators and a culture that embraced their presence, the cats thrived. But as the fishing economy declined, people started leaving. Young adults moved to the cities, chasing better jobs and modern lives. What they left behind was an aging population and a whole lot of cats. Today, cats lounge in abandoned homes, patrol quiet docks, and greet the occasional ferry with casual indifference. Volunteers visit to provide food and medical care, and many of the locals treat them like family. In Japanese culture, cats are seen as lucky, symbols of prosperity and protection. Tourism picked up. Souvenir shops, tiny cafes, and guest houses began popping up, all built around the feline mystique. But the popularity also brought problems: waste, disease, and concerns about overpopulation. So some islands introduced sterilization programs and visitor guidelines to keep the balance. And when disaster struck, like the 2011 earthquake and tsunami, efforts to rebuild included protecting the cats too. Because here, cats aren't just pets. They're part of the island's identity. 260 kilometers southeast of Nova Scotia lies Sable Island, a windswept strip of sand just 40 kilometers long and barely 1.5 kilometers wide. There are no towns, no trees, and no roads. But there is something extraordinary: a wild herd of horses untouched by humans for centuries. Sable Island is often called the graveyard of the Atlantic. Over 350 shipwrecks have been recorded along its shores, thanks to thick fog, shifting sandbanks, and violent storms. And yet, in this harsh and haunting environment, a population of horses survives and thrives. No one knows for certain how they got there. Some say they were left behind by 18th century settlers. Others believe they swam ashore from wrecked ships. Whatever the origin, these horses adapted. They graze on salty grasses, endure bitter weather with no shelter, and drink water from shallow ponds. In 1960, Canada gave them legal protection. No one can remove, domesticate, or interfere with them. They're observed from a distance, studied for their resilience and social behavior, but never touched. Sable Island is now a nature reserve. Researchers and park staff are the only regular visitors. The land is fragile, and so is the ecosystem. Still, the horses remain as a living monument to survival, shaped by wind, salt, and time. What most people don't realize is that these horses, wild and free, aren't just a quirk of nature. They're a reminder that life always finds a way, even in places where it seems impossible. In Mauritius, tucked away in the Chamarel region, there's a stretch of earth that looks like it was painted by hand. The soil ripples in shades of red, purple, yellow, blue, and orange. A natural canvas known as the 7 colored earths. It's not artificial. No dyes, no tricks of the light. Just volcanic minerals reacting to the tropical climate in ways scientists are still trying to fully understand. Iron oxide brings the reds and browns. Aluminum oxide creates the blues and purples. And somehow, even after heavy rains, the colors never mix. Each hue holds its line like paint on an invisible palette. The effect is mesmerizing and surprisingly stable. These dunes cover just under 2 acres, but they've become one of Mauritius's biggest attractions. Visitors walk designated trails, gaze from observation decks, and learn about the island's geological past. Nearby, the Chamarel waterfall drops nearly 100 meters into a lush valley, completing the scene like something out of a fantasy novel. But what makes this place special isn't just the colors, it's the consistency. In a world shaped by erosion, storms, and chaos, this island ground seems to resist change. It stays bold, defined, unique. If you're enjoying this journey through the world's most unbelievable islands, don't forget to subscribe for more hidden wonders and mind-blowing stories. We've still got a few more islands to explore, and trust me, they only get stranger from here. Off the coast of Naples, 2 tiny islands are connected by a narrow bridge of stone. They look idyllic at first glance, classic Mediterranean charm, but locals call them cursed. And after hearing their history, you might too. This is Giola Island. For over a century, nearly every person who's owned it has faced sudden tragedy. Heart attacks, suicides, financial ruin. One man died of a heart attack on the island. Another, a wealthy businessman, lost everything within months of buying it. One even ended up in a psychiatric institution. Coincidence? Maybe. But the legend stuck. Adding to the unease, the island sits on geologically unstable ground, prone to tremors and near an active volcanic zone. The crumbling villa that remains today is abandoned, weather-worn, broken. Eventually, authorities stepped in. The area was converted into a marine park, and Giolla Island became off-limits to the public. But beneath the waves lie remnants of ancient Roman villas, proof that people once lived, thrived, and built lives here, until apparently they didn't. Giolla is a place where beauty and danger coexist, where every breeze whispers a warning, and where history leaves behind more questions than answers. About 30 miles south of Manila in the Philippines lies Taal Volcano, one of the most unusual geological structures on the planet. It's a lake inside a volcano that has another lake inside it. Yes, you heard that right. A lake within a volcano. It's beautiful, calm, picturesque, but make no mistake, this volcano is dangerous. Taal has erupted more than 30 times since the 1500s, with eruptions ranging from small steam explosions to catastrophic blasts. In 1911, one eruption killed over 1,000 people, and in 2020, after decades of silence, it woke up again, spewing ash into the sky and forcing mass evacuations. Crater Lake, nestled in the center, has a greenish hue from sulfur and other volcanic gases. The water is acidic, the air can be toxic, and beneath the surface, pressure builds. Despite this, Taal was once a popular tourist destination. Visitors hiked to the rim, looked down into the steaming lake, and marveled at the view. But today, access is restricted. Seismic sensors and gas monitors constantly track the volcano's mood, because when it erupts, it gives little warning. The surprising truth is, for all its serenity, Taal is a sleeping monster, and it reminds us that beauty and destruction often share the same space. In the Marshall Islands, there's a structure that most people have never heard of, but should. On Runit Island, a small dome of concrete covers what's left of 20th century nuclear testing. It's called the Runit Dome, and it's cracking. From 1946 to 1958, the US detonated more than 40 nuclear bombs in this region. Fallout blanketed the islands. In the 1970s, the military attempted to contain some of the radioactive waste by dumping 80,000 cubic meters of contaminated soil into a bomb crater and sealing it with a dome. But here's the problem. It wasn't built to last. The base is porous, the concrete is thinning, and as sea levels rise, water is already seeping in and out, threatening to carry radioactive material into the Pacific Ocean. Even worse, responsibility for the site was handed over to the Marshall Islands in the 1980s, a small nation with limited resources to deal with a nuclear legacy left behind by a superpower. Scientists have warned about the risks, but the funding, oversight, and action remain minimal. This dome isn't just a forgotten Cold War relic. It's a slow-moving environmental disaster, a ticking clock beneath the waves, and almost no one is talking about it. The Maldives are famous for turquoise waters and white sand beaches, but beneath that postcard, beauty lies a story of fragility and survival. These islands, all 1/200 of them, sit just 1 or 2 meters above sea level. They look like they're floating, because, in a way, they are. Each island is the exposed tip of a coral atoll, built over millions of years. Ancient underwater volcanoes once rose above the ocean. As they sank back down, coral reefs grew over them, forming rings that slowly became islands. Sand, coral fragments, and sea debris accumulated, and life took hold. But now rising sea levels and warming oceans threaten everything. Coral reefs are bleaching, storms are getting stronger, and the very foundation of the Maldives is dissolving. In response, the Maldivian government has turned to innovation, creating artificial islands, reinforcing coastlines, and launching conservation programs. But the truth is, these islands are in a race against time. What most people don't realize is that the Maldives aren't just vacation destinations. They're frontline witnesses to climate change, and their survival depends on what the world does next. In the Pacific, west of Fiji's main island, lies a dot on the map that changed everything for one species and captured the world's imagination. Monuriki Island is where the movie Castaway was filmed. But long before Tom Hanks talked to a volleyball, this island was home to a creature on the brink. The Fiji-crested iguana lives only here. For years, its population declined due to invasive rats, goats, and habitat destruction. But after the island's Hollywood spotlight, conservationists stepped in. They launched protection programs, restored the habitat, and removed invasive species. Tourism was carefully regulated. There are no hotels, no permanent buildings, just short guided visits and clear rules. Take nothing, leave nothing. Today, Monariki is part of the Mamanuca Conservation Area. It's a model of how media attention, when handled right, can drive real change. The iguanas are coming back, the reefs are thriving, and the island remains wild exactly as it should be. This place reminds us that even tiny islands can make a global impact, that fame isn't always shallow, and that sometimes the best thing we can do for nature is let it be. From volcanic labyrinths to rotating circles of land, from radioactive tombs to forests ruled by cats, the world's islands reveal just how strange, beautiful, and unpredictable our planet truly is. Each island is a question mark, a place that shouldn't exist but does, a reminder that Earth still has secrets, and that in the age of satellites and streaming and global maps, wonder isn't gone. It's just waiting to be rediscovered. If this journey surprised you, share it. Comment with the island that shocked you the most. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, because the next story might change how you see the world around you.